You wake up. You check your phone. A few notifications, a news headline, a recommended video. Nothing unusual. But before you've made a single conscious decision, several systems have already acted on your behalf. They decided what you saw first, what waited quietly below, and what you may never see at all. Most of these systems are invisible. They don't announce themselves. They don't feel powerful. Yet they shape attention, behavior, and outcomes at a scale that previous generations would have struggled to imagine. Today, we're going to look at one of them. Not what it promises, not what it's marketed as, but how it actually works and why it quietly matters. This is the system behind recommendation. Not just videos or posts, but the logic that decides what comes next. At its surface, recommendation feels simple. You watch something. The system shows you something similar, helpful, efficient, even considerate. But the real objective isn't similarity. It's engagement. Engagement is measurable. Time spent, clicks, rewatches, pauses, signals that suggest attention has been captured. The system doesn't care why you stayed, only that you did. And this matters because recommendation systems don't optimize for understanding, accuracy, or long-term benefit. They optimize for continued interaction, because that is what the system is rewarded for producing. This isn't malicious, it's structural. Platforms earn money when users stay longer. Advertisers pay for attention. So the system is trained to maximize the probability that you won't leave. Now let's slow down and think about what that means. If a calm, nuanced explanation keeps you watching for 5 minutes, but a sharper, emotionally charged version keeps you watching for 10, the system learns which one works better. Not because it agrees with the message, but because it observes the behavior. Over time, this creates a feedback loop. Content that captures attention becomes easier to find. Content that doesn't slowly disappears, even if it's accurate, careful, or important. This is why recommendation often drifts, not toward truth or quality, but toward intensity. You see this pattern everywhere. News feeds favor breaking stories over resolved ones. Posts that provoke strong reactions travel further. Explanations get shortened. Context gets stripped away. It's not because anyone explicitly decided this outcome would be good. It's because engagement is easier to measure than understanding. And what can be measured can be optimized. Now consider how this scales. These systems don't affect a few people. They affect millions, sometimes billions. They influence what topics feel urgent, what opinions feel common, what perspectives feel marginal, even if they aren't. When you encounter an idea repeatedly, it begins to feel normal. When you rarely encounter an idea, it feels fringe. The system isn't telling you what to believe, but it is shaping what feels present, visible, and worth attention. And that shaping happens continuously. Another subtle effect is personalization. Two people can search for the same topic and receive entirely different results. Different sources, different tones, different implications. Over time, this creates parallel experiences of reality. Not because we disagree, but because we are shown different starting points. This isn't isolation by force, it's divergence by design. Again, not intentional in a moral sense, but inevitable given the incentives. The system rewards what keeps you engaged, not what creates shared understanding across users. There are trade-offs here. Recommendation systems are incredibly useful. They reduce overload. They help surface content we'd never find on our own. They allow small creators to reach global audiences. Removing them entirely would create chaos. But ignoring their influence creates something else, a quiet distortion. When engagement becomes the dominant signal, subtle qualities are lost. Depth, balance, silence, resolution. These things often signal closure, and closure ends sessions. So the system learns to avoid it. Instead, it nudges us toward the next clip, the next post, the next unresolved thread. Always something more. This doesn't make us controlled, but it does make us shaped. And shaping, when it happens at scale, becomes culture. So what do we do with this understanding? We don't need panic, and we don't need rejection. We need awareness. When you encounter content that feels unusually intense, ask why it traveled so far. When a feed feels endless, remember that its success is measured by your staying. These systems aren't evil. They're efficient. They reflect what they are trained to value. And right now, attention is the currency. Understanding this doesn't make you immune, but it does give you a moment of agency, a pause before the next click. Because the most important thing to realize is this: the system doesn't see you, it sees patterns. And those patterns are quietly shaping the world you move through. These are the systems quietly building tomorrow, today.